Okay, we're just after the hour, so I think we'll get started. So my name is Patrick Callahan. I am a partner CTO here at DataStax. And just a little bit of housekeeping to start with. There's obviously a chat window. You can put some questions in here and we can put them to the panelists as we go on. The session will be recorded, so you can come and watch it at any time after the session. I'll just bring up a small presentation here as I do. So I am delighted to be here today with Yanna, who is the CIO of Generali UK. Yanna has spent a long time in leadership roles from CTO, CIO, CEO, pretty much everything in a leadership role in financial services, and we're delighted to have her here today. We're going to be talking about the modernization journey and strategy that was enabled by Fincons and DataStax, and of course the team at Generali. We also have Giuliano Altamura, who is the general manager, or the global general manager for financial services and insurance business units. And also Des McCavitt, who is the director for the UK and Ireland at the Fincons Group. As I said, my name is Patrick Callahan, coming to you from a very rainy garden shed in Dublin, Ireland. Hopefully you will have a hot coffee or a hot cup of tea to get you through the next 45 minutes. But it's a pleasure to be here. Just very quickly on DataStax, we provide an open data platform built mostly on open source distributed technologies like Apache Cassandra, Apache Pulsar, and Apache Spark. And we're going to talk today about how Fincons, with the help of DataStax, created a data platform for the future for Generali. So, Giuliano, I'll come to you first, if that's okay. Can you just tell us a little about Fincons and what you're doing in the insurance industry?
Sure. Thanks, first of all, Patrick. Thanks to you, and thanks to the DataStax friends, and of course to Yanna as well to joining this webinar. And welcome also from my side to all the participants. As Patrick said, my role in Fincons is to manage the financial services and insurance business unit, thus following all our clients and projects in the banking and insurance spaces in all the countries where Fincons is working. So some words about Fincons, a quick overview. Fincons is a consulting system integration company. We are headquartered in Switzerland, and we are very well established, especially in Switzerland and in Italy. And we are also establishing, or we established already, and we are growing in new countries for us, which are UK, US, Germany, and France. We are doing well. We are increasing our revenues regularly each year, and this is bringing us the potential also for investing, for opening new markets, which is what we are doing. What we do, yes, we are working in different industries. By the way, being financial services the widest, with more than 1/3 of our total revenues. By the way, overall, we are something like 2,000 people all over. And what we do kind of 360-degree services to our clients, from high-level consulting, including program management, change management, etc., to IT design and solution, which is our core, right? So understanding the needs of the client and designing a solution for fulfilling these needs. Of course, in this period, in the insurance space, and not only, we are very involved in digital transformation projects, and we have a number of capabilities for doing this. Especially, we are working in 4 main areas for digital transformation. First is being self-service solutions, so B2C. Also, sales network efficiency improvement solutions, so for bringing quickly data and services to intermediaries, typically. And the third area is the area of operations efficiency. We are dealing with automation and these things. And the last one is regarding IT modernization, which is basically related to going into the cloud. We do all of these projects Also, we work on more traditional applications in designing, building, and in maintaining these applications, leveraging our nearshore delivery center, which we have in Bari, southern Italy, but also working on site at client premises. So this is very quickly, Patrick, a picture of us.
No, that's perfect. Perfect. And Des, if I come to you, financial services and insurance is obviously highly regulated. There's a lot of risk management that needs to take place. But what are you seeing as maybe some of the new trends emerging, particularly around data modernization and new platforms to allow for the digital transformation move?
Thank you, Patrick. I think the context is a very good one, because in reflecting on Yanna's demands for her data modernization objectives at Generali, clearly her needs are unique, but I think as I reflect on the broader needs of perhaps the industry more generally, and in fact commercial enterprise more generally, at some level, I think these needs and demands and requirements would resonate with anybody who's on this call, whether or not they're participating in the insurance business. So I think we've got three, I guess, buckets of factors that contribute to a general trend, which is the first bucket's customer demands. People are getting more demanding. I'll come on to that in a little more detail in a moment. We also have internal objectives, and I'm sure Yanna's are no different to most others in Yanna's position, delivering cost effectively, having a robust technology service, being always on, fast response times, instant recovery from disaster. I mean, these are pretty standard requirements. And the third bucket is the technology landscape, which I think has changed quite dramatically, especially over the last, let's say, decade, which enables an organization like Fincons to put different technologies together to think about delivering to those demands, perhaps in a different way from the way that has been done previously. And if I think about customer demands particularly, those who work in insurance will know that there are few more demanding customers than underwriters. And certainly that was a big driver at Generali, getting better insights, faster insights, more broad brush insights into the underwriting portfolio to drive performance. And that's not the only driver. I mean, internal demands come from actuarial finance, as they do in any other insurer, and also from external requirements like regulators. So all of that is in the bucket of customer demands. And as I think about the way things used to be done, and I don't mean at Generali, I mean generally, my experience is that we thought in a very structured way. And those structured ways of thinking present numerous challenges to dealing with the demands of running a business in the modern world. I noticed, sadly, the US Defense Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, passed away last month. In fact, I think it was last week. He introduced us to some unique phrases, the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. And I think this is a great way to think about the way we've used technology in the past, and thinking about the old world where we structured data in a way that we knew what we needed to know, therefore the known knowns. And a management information report would come out daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, annually. It would say the same thing, or at least be based on the same data. And then there was generally an opportunity to look deeper into the management information, to look for the drivers of performance, whether good or bad, which we might loosely call analytics. It may have been done on a spreadsheet or a pivot table or something. And we could say that was a way to get to the known unknowns. That is to say, the things we knew, but we didn't know we needed to know them in the management information. So I think if we think about the world today, we're no longer dealing with known knowns and known unknowns. We also have a lot of Donald Rumsfeld's unknown unknowns. That is to say, the things we didn't know, we needed to know. And that presents huge difficulties, particularly if we wish to use those unknown unknowns data sources to analyze and structure our business response. So I think in the new world, we have numerous challenges, which are typically numerous source systems from which structured data can be derived. Some will be old, some will be new, some will predate the organization by way of merger or acquisition, and some will have been designed internally. But essentially, that data source or those data sources are a huge treasure trove if only the data can be homogenized and leveraged in order to deliver business insight. That is a huge challenge in the traditional world of structured databases and on-premise delivery. The data structures may be different, the definitions may be different. We also then have a completely new thing, which is big data and unstructured data. So when we think about using artificial intelligence, for example, to draw data out of a document, we then have unstructured data. There isn't a basis on which we can use that data unless in the old world we could find a place to store it and to structure it in a way that we know we need to know. And as with big data, the data sources may be in any shape or form very different to the data that we use internally. So I think all of that drove a need to think very differently about structuring the technology that delivers to the needs not just of Generali today, but of Generali for possibly the next 10 years, 15 years. So this was quite a significant investment and drove the thinking at Fincons in terms of the technologies that we put together in order to give access to as many data fields, not data sources, but as many data fields as Generali could ever imagine needing in a flexible, cost-effective, robust way with all the security that comes with it. And in fact, as we've ended up, without the hassle of managing it on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not going to go into the technology because that is the role of my technology colleagues at Fincons. And I think it's time for me to pass back to Giuliano to elaborate on some of the ways in which we address these issues.
Well, thank you, guys. Just on that, I think you've picked up on so many different areas there. You know, the balance between, you know, data storage long-term over data, you know, in terms of using the data that you actually need at the start, but then having that flexibility to say, well, actually, I need something down the road. And it's funny, you know, I talk to a lot of architects these days, and it's difficult to be an architect. There's so much choice, whether it's the cloud or on-premise or as a service. You know, Giuliano, how do Fincons think about data platforms in general, and that how do you choose technology based on the certain characteristics that's talked about there?
Yes, Patrick, thank you. Yes, also following Des' words and yours, yes, we see many clients in the situation of realizing the need of a new generation of data platforms or modernizing the way they manage data. Our experience is that there is no one single solution that fits all the possible needs, of course. Rather, the solution has to be designed considering, of course, the business requirements and both the actual business requirements and also the future ones. This is more difficult, but we need to do an effort together with the clients to do that. And the second thing is to consider also the client context. No? Each client, we arrive as a different context in terms of competencies, culture, in terms of how did they mature their experience in managing data, the standards that they have, maybe belonging to some international groups, etc. Or also existing licenses, no? Because maybe we are talking about market solutions, and so maybe there are some components that are already there, which is the case to use. The market is proposing tens and tens of possible tools potentially interesting to be part of the solution. So we believe that the ability of the system integrator, and we try to do that, is to bring in an ability, knowing many of these tools, to design the most appropriate solution, considering all we have said, right? Fincons is working since many years on data platforms, the traditional data platforms, you know, based on data warehouses, data marts, ETL tools, etc. And but there is a new need that is coming, which is, as also said, Des was anticipating, brought us to the conclusion that something new is required. The difficulty in the financial services and in the insurance space in particular is that often, or better to say always, the application landscape that the clients has is built over a number of backend systems. So siloed, right, for specific needs, P&C, claims, life, finance, and often there are also further complication due to maybe eventual acquisition that has brought maybe to have more than one system for claims, or so the situation is always complex. This is why a modern data platform has to be put in place. With this in mind, we have monitored, in our experience, two major forces pushing, say, our clients to the research of a new modern data platform. The first force is what is called the data literacy, right? So the ability to read, understand, deriving structured information from data. Okay, the typical clear need is, for example, related to regulatory reporting, where many data coming from different systems has to be put together in a situation where data governance, data quality, the ability to quickly link the data that are appearing in a report, the way these data are related or are coming from which data in the backend systems. This is key aspects, right, in this situation. This is the situation, for example, of Generali UK. Yanna will tell us something, I think, a bit more about this. The second force that we see is very important is coming from what is called the world of now, no? So, namely the real-time topic. And let's talk a bit about this. No? Front-end applications are needs to access data quickly, needs data to be updated and to be quickly available, 24/7. And there are many situations where a modern user experience is required, and this furtherly intensify, no, the need for speed in accessing data. Consider, for example, the situation where that is coming from a situation where you have a 360 degrees picture of the client, right? So putting in a single screen information coming from different data sources after identifying a client. Or typical situations can be profiled cockpits or dashboards, or anti-fraud systems that also need this data, or other non-solutions or systems requiring updated data for being effective at the end. Or also consider maybe Google-like search functionalities, right? Also enriching the user experience, where people are used to work with this kind of features, which with the traditional integration platform simply cannot be built, right? Because it's too much impacting in terms of capacity of the backend system. Yes, it's possible to implement fast front-end application using modern technologies like Angular, React, etc., shifting the capacity to the client. So reducing the throughput of information with the server, etc. But still, the application is fast, but you need to wait for accessing data at the end. So we concentrated on this, and we realized that a modern data platform can be the answer for this topic, right? So we worked around this topic with one word in mind: flexibility. Why? Because, as I said, every client has a different situation, every business has different needs, so we have to be flexible in many directions, in terms of data model, in terms of eventual components included in the solution. We have to be flexible in terms of using the solutions on-premise or in cloud, and many other situations, right? So we arrived to what we call the Fincons Data Lake, which is a solution. It is a combination of market components, accurately selected and completed by some, of course, custom developments. And this solution is basically a high-performance data store, right, with a near real-time data feeding procedure, highly engineered with no impact or very, very low impact on the backend system. So, and this is very important. The ingestion procedure is working by event, so we capture what is happening in the backend database, and we intercept these events of data modification or data structure modification, and we promote these events into the data lake with the ability of adding logic, logic for calculating fields or for normalizing, denormalizing, or at the end creating, I would say, data structures that are optimized for any specific needs. And then on top of this, we, with the set of APIs, we can provide quickly data to the front end. Quickly, when I mean quickly, I saw a situation where there were one level of magnitude, okay, in this. So really a huge difference from maybe 15, 20 seconds to less than one, right? So for complex situation like the 360 degrees picture of the client, with the ability of adding Google-like search functionalities and what I said previously. Yeah. Also, it's important that this solution it must, in the flexibility topic, be able to work both on premise and on the cloud. And we saw that we saw many tools, as I was saying before. We tried them in a lab environment first, and then on different clients. And we, at the end, we saw that DataStax is bringing a very good component for the high performance data store, also with the high level of flexibility in managing the data model and also in managing the infrastructure needed, on-premise or this or that client, cloud platforms without major problems. It's also interesting because the competencies that are needed are more close to SQL, let's say, competencies that are often available at clients without requiring that much new competencies, which is a further plus, I believe. So basically, this is it, in terms of course, there is another big benefit, which is shifting the capacity usage from the backend system, which is often based on expensive technologies like the mainframe or something different, to a more mature, more distributed, more scalable, and also cheaper platform, which is this. And this is
all the good things.
Yeah, this is typically in some situations. This is the reason why I saw some clients adopting such a solution. The mainframe offloading topic. It's a keyword that is coming. And this is for sure an important point of view in insurance, also in banking. Consider, for example, in the banking space, it's calculated that close to 60% of the transactions are inquiry transactions, mainly for gathering amounts for money accounts or movements or positions of the different contracts. So inquiry, and if it's possible to move this capacity out of the mainframe, it brings a high level of value, both in terms of speed of accessing this data and in terms of cost, of course.
Yeah. So I just wanted to move on, and I appreciate that that there's lots of great things we can talk about, and we can come back to that. But I'd like to get to Yanna, and it's a pleasure to talk to you again. I'd like just for you to tell us, what were your what were your goals going into this modernization? What were the challenges you were trying to find a solution for? And then how did you and Fincons work together to get this great outcome?
I would like to keep three elements in the conversation. So Generali with my perimeter, Fincons, and also DataStax. So specifically, a little bit of just one sentence about me. My specialty is large-scale transformation. Before I joined Generali, 4 of my biggest transformations cost £4 billion in total. So on average, £500 million per transformation is quite big. So again, my strength is the end-to-end strategy, the end-to-end architecture, and then how everything gets implemented. So, and also not just the one-off projects, but then what is the approach, total cost of ownership for the run services after the transformation. So I would like to zoom a little bit more on data. And my background is not data. My background is applications and integration predominantly. But to me, the data is the most important domain in an IT landscape. Why it is, and I'm very, very passionate about it, because if you have your data sorted out, then you can develop 99 applications of the same data. But if your data is not structured, is not in the right state, no amount of applications can solve that. So I always call data the blood of my organization. So when I picked the job, so I'm responsible for Generali corporate and commercial IT, which operates in 20 countries, but also I'm responsible for the domestic businesses. When we have corporate and commercial, we have employee benefits and other domestic businesses. So that makes for an interesting story. So when I started the job 2 or 3 years ago, we started working on the business case for transformation straight away. Specifically on the data, significant parts of the estate where I was laughing at the time and saying, last time I put technology like this in place was a millennium ago, which is not even an exaggeration because it was the old technology stack. And I was using it in 1999, so it is a millennium ago. So we put the business case for the IT transformation, and we have very, very careful approach of islands of stability in line with our financial year. So when we finish a financial year, we finish a set of projects and we leave the business in a stable state. Because no one these days can say, I'll give you X amount of money, I'll give you 5 years, go and do something. I would like to see the result after 5 years. So we're doing it one slice at a time, and at the end of every year, leave the business in a stable state. So the emphasis of the transformation has been over 4 years. So 2019, we put in place and we redeveloped modernized identification and integration. In 2020, a bit by coincidence, we did our infrastructure transformation. So the infrastructure transformation, the 2 main elements was everything was moved to cloud. By the end of the year, 28th of November, we switched off our data centers last year. But also the second element of that was the user experience. And we had ordered laptops for all of our users. And they arrived the week before the first COVID lockdown. A little bit of luck, but it helped a great deal. So end of last year, everything modernized from infrastructure point of view. So all along, we knew that we need those fundamental building blocks. So we need the integration, we need the identity management, we need the cloud flexibility before we moving into 2021. So this is the focus of our data and analytics modernization. I will come back to that in a moment. But then 2022, then after the data and analytics modernization, then in 2022, we can keep the focus back onto the applications modernization, including some legacy applications, including migrating some of the applications to software as a service, new functionality. Also, we have some crown jewels, which are our own proprietary systems, and we keep them that way on purpose because they're to do with underwriting, rating. So we want to keep our crown jewels very close to our treasure chest and look after them carefully. So again, a 4-year transformation strategy with the right approach. But again, to me, the data has always been the most important and the most complex part of the transformation. So obviously we need to de-risk it. We need to have flexibility. I don't want to put another legacy technology, which I cannot touch, I cannot modernize in the next 20 years. I don't want to be here in a couple of years and saying to my business, do you remember that modernization in 2021? I want more money, please. It's not going to happen. In the meantime, so while we're modernizing our IT, obviously, especially in the insurance industry and in the UK, we had two major factors. One was, do you remember the good old-fashioned Brexit? There were a lot of implications on applications, reporting, analytics, regulatory reporting, so right throughout. And just as we were punching there, say, great, ready, we had this lovely little non-complex thing called IFRS 17 coming our way. And again, that impacts applications, reporting, analytics, regulatory reporting, etc. So I know that both Des and Juliana mentioned it earlier, but if I had to resolve those demands, those needs with the old technology stack, that would have been near suicide. Only technical suicide. Okay, so if anything, things are not getting simpler, they're getting more and more complex. It's not a question of I'll finish the transformation, we will have nothing left to do. We need to resolve the data. And what I really, really like about the solution that we're putting in place is that in one place, we're dealing with multi-tenant architecture. I have multiple businesses. Some of them are UK domestic, some of them are in 20 countries. I can deal with 130 different data feeds, for example, just for one of the businesses. Now it's easy. So this is the multi-tenant architecture. Also, what that has introduced is it is good to have the modern technologies. With the old technologies, that would have been impossible. The fact that I can use the cloud and I have scalability, even sometimes I can even scale for a particular busy time of period, especially data-heavy time of period. I don't need to commit to my own data centers. So it is good, it's flexible. I have the total cost of ownership under control as well. Where I'm seeing a slightly bigger and increasing gap is skills. I need more and more people with the right skills. So again, interesting journey. Life is not getting any simpler, but we need to find simpler ways of resolving the complexities. So what did we manage to get from Fincons and what did we manage to get from DataStax with this complexity? From Fincons, again, those were the guys who came and actually designed with us what is that modern architecture. Now we're implementing it and then maintaining it afterwards. But that flexibility, because even now, and all of us in the insurance industry, we will appreciate that it's never greenfield implementation. For X amount of time, I have a coexistence of the old technology stack, the new technology stack, and then we have a strategy of how to migrate fully to the new technology stack. So that's flexibility to have the skills, the vision, the implementation skills, the maintenance capacity. It has worked very nicely from Fincons. And on DataStax, I'm not going to mention technologies, but prior to this modernization, we had previous proof of concepts, technology experiments, and we have worked out that not always the technology does what it says on the tin. Sometimes you open it and you hit big constraints. So we have ditched those proof of concepts 2-3 years ago. So now with DataStax, we appreciate what we're getting. So we're getting very, very solid technology to be able to have one data lake only. I cannot repeat this enough times, but and sometimes people come with very good either technology reasons or business reasons or territory reasons. They, well, why don't we do this, that, and the other? I say, no, 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 no. I am not going to start duplicating, replicating, synchronizing my data. I want my data lake to be in one place only. I want it to be able to support my applications, data and analytics, data governance, lineage, data quality, all of that lovely stuff in one place, but one lake only, with near real-time feeds from systems to applications to data analytics to machine learning to artificial intelligence, but one data lake only. And in selecting the technology also, again, I don't want to go and rip it out in 3 years' time. We have selected a technology that will be with us for the next 15, 20 years, and maybe beyond that. But I hope to have retired by then.
Thank you so much, Yanna. So just a couple of questions on that, because that you know, the 4-year strategy is very clever to break it up and to take each piece and give it its due attention. You mentioned there the crown jewels, a lot of proprietary software that you have in-house. That's obviously, is that always going to stay on premise? Is there have you established a hybrid cloud infrastructure within the technology?
Okay, so we don't have everything. We don't have anything on premise. We don't have data centers. So our state is either software as a service completely, or we have Azure infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, and we have other platform as a service. So we don't have anything on premise.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so that's a big, you know, for an insurance company, I think it's very you know, forward looking in terms of, you know, making sure that you're cloud native across any cloud. You're making sure you're taking advantage of those things that are coming down the line. And I think, you know, when we think about AI and we think about machine learning, obviously they're probably going to be offered as a service from these big cloud providers in the future. Just going back to Giuliano just for a minute, you talked about flexibility and agility. And how much of that is a differentiator, do you think, when you come to, from a technology point of view and also from a strategy point of view within an industry and within a company like Generali?
Well, look, I think that flexibility is key, right? At least from the perspective of the system integrator, because as I said, there's no, we never found the same situation in a second client, right? Everything is different. And so we have to be flexible in reusing as much as possible, but still personalizing the solution, right? And addressing the specific needs of that client. So flexibility is key. So how this is implemented? Consider that in the solutions we are talking about, our role is the system integrator, right? Meaning that we have to integrate solutions to talk one each other. And the value that we have to bring as system integrator is the knowledge of as many as possible of these tools of these solutions that maybe are in place at the client side, in order to be able to connect them effectively and work together as a unique system. I think this is really key. So the solutions that we develop must be flexible. Also, you know why? Also because what is today available on the market maybe will be different in a couple of years. You know, there will be maybe in a couple of years there will be more efficient tools for specific needs, and we have to be flexible in substituting it and introducing it into the solution, maybe in place of another one. So it's a never-ending story. We have to always study, always be updated, and be flexible in proposing and modifying things.
Yeah, and you're so right. I mean, for technology especially, it never ends. And that's why I think for architects, you know, and people who are building the systems of the future, the options are endless. And there's so much noise as well to Yanna's point, people will say they do X, Y, and Z, but you find out they do X and not Y and Z very well. And I think that's something that we all just have to do our due diligence on. Just a little thought for the future. I know we're coming up on time here. I think about two big areas, three if you think about cloud migration, but you think about modernization and then transformation. And I think a lot in the last 10 years has been around modernization, led by some real innovation by pretty tech companies in general. But we see now that companies are moving towards that transformation phase. And I think of it in a simple example that modernization is a car or a diesel car moving to an electric car. That's modernizing and bringing it up to date. But transformation is building a self-driving car. So it's evolving into something different. So for modernization to take place, it's all around technology and the building blocks and bringing it up to current standards. But for transformation, it's all around data. So it's around the harvesting and cultivating of data, making sure it's correct and valuable, and then making it into something that drives innovation and, in terms of a self-driving car, is able to actually propel the business exponentially. So, Yanna, how do you think about, obviously you're in the middle of this modernization phase, but from my point of view, your foundation is a great leap forward to allowing you to go on that transformation journey. Is that somewhere in the back of your mind where you're focused?
Absolutely, because I have a crystal ball and I use it to but at least we need to have the flexibility. Also, I have seen now a question from Jonathan Taylor about skills. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to combine your question plus Jonathan's question. So our IT strategies divide, conquer, and integrate. And if I see that there's a better component in place or component is aging, I should be able to pick the next best solution instead of upsetting the entire landscape. Mm-hmm. So where specifically on data, not in general, but specifically on data and specifically on skills, I always look at it from three different angles. One is the data engineering, let's call it that way. That's the IT side of data. The second one is the data governance. And the third one is data scientist. And I might be a slightly unusual head of IT or chief information officer because I'm not trying to expand IT to be too much. Actually, I'm starting backwards to say, wouldn't it be good if we have the right IT landscape to promote more self-service for business, but including to the point where the data scientists or the people who really know the people who really know the data and they know how to get the value out of that data, they're not IT. They need to be as close as possible business people, whether it is rating, whether it's pricing, whether it's risk engineering. They're the people who know the subject area, and we have been intelligent enough to give them the right IT support, the right data feeds in and out. I'm simplifying. So again, to me, that data scientists, data business user, I would like them to feel comfortable that they have the right tools provided by my team. The data governance, again, I mentioned IFRS 17, and we have regulators and everything. The more we can do the data lineage, the data quality rating out of the box, almost fully automated. It doesn't take people with clipboards or Excel spreadsheets to go and do this stuff. The more I free time for either the business people or the IT people. So again, the right technology support for data governance, perfect. And then coming back to the data engineers, I'm putting it all in one place, IT. Again, as much as possible to have that, the data lake, the capability in one place with everything that it takes, structured, secure, everything to be in one place. Then, and if I manage in the next 2-3 years to decommission the old estate, then actually my skills gap, coming back to that question, is my skill gap is going to be people who actually can live with the old estate, need for 2-3 years, decommission it, while actually providing the right IT support for the new landscape. I hope it's making sense, but at the moment, especially the people who are on the intersection of old and new are not that many. And even if I keep them segregated, the skill gap is on the new technology.
Yeah, no, that's so important. I mean, you know, with nearly every enterprise we talk to, the skills gap is a problem, especially when we're moving to the cloud as well. There is another question here. I know we're nearly up on time. It was Amarjit asked around creating a standout proposition from your competitors. So what is it that maybe you see, and maybe that's maybe competitive that we don't want to get into, but I suppose that in the next kind of couple of years, what is it innovation wise that maybe can drive from this modernization initiative?
Is this year. I'm not going to wait 2 years. I'll share I'll share the first use case that we have, which is for risk engineering. And again, with all the landscape, all the building components that we have, to be able to get data, to scan data, to use AI even on scanning multiple formats, multiple types. I can fix anything else except for my internet connection. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so on scanning multiple documents, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of documents. So scan them in various languages, potentially even translate them to one target.
You can on and off. Sorry, Yanna, it's a little bit choppy, unfortunately.
Documents, identifying the risk engineering risks, rating the risk engineering risks, all the way to this, dear risk engineer, here's what AI has done for you. Now take the last step in the decision making. So the technologies are here. You need to have the right building blocks, but the technologies are here.
Yes, I appreciate that. Guys, we're just over time. Thank you so much for all your attendance today. It's been great talking. We could probably talk for another hour at this stage. And to the attendees, thank you for attending. This has been recorded. I hope you got your coffee or your beverage of choice. And I just wanted to thank you all. We'll be in touch. And if you want to get in touch with DataStax or Fincons, we can obviously help with any of the questions you have if you didn't have them today. But appreciate all the time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.